The classroom door slammed shut, trapping Sarah in a room thick with whispers and sneers. She clutched her worn-out backpack, her knuckles whitening, as the familiar sting of humiliation burned her cheeks. At 22, she was older than most of her community college classmates, but that didn't stop them from treating her like she was invisible, or worse, a punching bag. Her oversized sweater and scuffed sneakers screamed, "Easy target," and the trio of bullies, led by a sharp-tongued girl named Kaylee, never let her forget it. Today, though, something inside Sarah was different. A quiet fire flickered in her chest, one that had been smoldering for years, waiting for the right moment to blaze. Sarah had always been the quiet one, the woman who faded into the background. Growing up in a small, run-down apartment with her overworked single mother, she learned early to keep her head down. Dreams were luxuries she couldn't afford, and confidence was a foreign language. When she enrolled in community college to chase a degree in social work, she thought it would be a fresh start. Instead, it became a new kind of battlefield. Kaylee, with her glossy hair and cruel smile, spotted Sarah's vulnerability like a predator sniffing out prey. Joined by her lackeys, Tara and Mia, Kaylee turned every class into a gauntlet of mockery. They'd snicker at Sarah's thrift store clothes, accidentally knock her books off her desk, or whisper just loud enough for her to hear. Why's she even here? She's too pathetic to make it. The harassment started small, petty jabs about her quiet voice or the way she hunched over her notes. But it grew uglier with time. One day, Kaylee borrowed Sarah's notebook and returned it with crude drawings scrawled across her meticulously written notes. Another time, Tara tripped and spilled coffee over Sarah's only laptop, giggling as Sarah scrambled to save it. The worst was the group project when Mia deliberately left Sarah's name off the presentation, leaving her to explain to the professor why she didn't contribute. Each incident chipped away at Sarah's resolve, making her question why she even bothered. She'd sit in her car after class, gripping the steering wheel, fighting tears, wondering if she should just quit. But Sarah had a secret, one even she sometimes forgot in the haze of self-doubt. At 16, desperate for a way to feel strong, she'd wandered into a local MMA gym. The coach, a grizzled ex-fighter named Marcus, saw something in her, an ember of resilience, and took her under his wing. For years, she trained in secret, channeling her pain into every punch, every grapple. By 20, she'd earned her black belt, but she never spoke of it. To her, the gym was a sanctuary, not a stage. She wasn't fighting for glory. She was fighting to survive herself. The bullying reached its peak one gray November afternoon. The class was tasked with presenting personal essays, a project Sarah had poured her heart into. She'd written about her mother's sacrifices, her own dreams of helping others, and the quiet strength she was still learning to embrace. As she stood at the front of the room, her voice steady but soft, Kaylee's laughter cut through the air. "God, who cares about your sob story?" she called out, sparking giggles from Tara and Mia. The professor reprimanded them, but the damage was done. Sarah finished her presentation, her face burning, and sat down, her essay crumpled in her trembling hands. That night, she didn't cry. She drove to the gym instead, pounding the heavy bag until her knuckles bled. Marcus watched from the sidelines, his arms crossed. "You're ready to stop running, kid," he said. "Show the world who you are." The next challenge came unexpectedly. The college was hosting a talent showcase, a mix of performances and demonstrations to raise funds for student programs. Sarah's classmates buzzed with excitement. Kaylee was showing off her dance skills, Tara was singing, and Mia was displaying her photography. Sarah hadn't planned to participate. The thought of standing in front of a crowd made her stomach twist. But Marcus had other ideas. "You've got a talent," he told her. "And it's not just about fighting. It's about proving you're more than what they think." He signed her up for an MMA demonstration without asking, leaving her no choice but to face her fears. The days leading up to the showcase were torture. Sarah's anxiety gnawed at her, whispering that she'd embarrass herself, that Kaylee and her crew would turn her performance into another joke. She trained harder than ever, sparring with Marcus and his best fighters, pushing her body to its limits. Her biggest challenge wasn't the physical preparation, it was believing she deserved to be seen. Every time she pictured herself in the ring, she saw Kaylee smirk, heard the whispers of her classmates. But Marcus's words echoed louder. "You're not fighting them. You're fighting for you." The night of the showcase arrived, and the college gym was packed. Students, faculty, and families filled the bleachers, their chatter buzzing like static. Sarah stood backstage, her hands wrapped, her black GI snug against her frame. She felt exposed, vulnerable, but the weight of her black belt around her waist grounded her. When her name was called, she stepped into the ring, her heart pounding. The crowd's murmurs faded as she began her demonstration, moving through katas with precision, her strikes sharp and controlled. Then came the sparring portion. Marcus had arranged for a skilled opponent from the gym, a towering fighter named Jake who matched her intensity but never overshadowed her. As Sarah dodged and countered, something shifted. The crowd wasn't laughing, they were captivated. Her movements were fluid, powerful, a stark contrast to the timid woman they'd dismissed. Kaylee, Tara, and Mia sat in the front row, their smirks faltering. Sarah caught their eyes mid-spin, and for the first time, she didn't look away. She threw a perfect roundhouse kick, landing it with a thud against Jake's pad, and the crowd erupted. The bullies' faces drained of color, their whispers silenced. But the real test came after the demonstration. As Sarah stepped out of the ring, Kaylee approached, her usual swagger replaced by something uneasy. "Didn't know you had that in you," she said, her tone half apologetic, half defensive. Sarah could have lashed out, could have rubbed her victory in their faces. Instead, she took a breath and said, "I didn't do this to prove anything to you. I did it for me." The words hung in the air, simple but heavy. Kaylee muttered something and walked away, but Sarah felt a weight lift. She'd faced her bullies, not with fists, but with her truth. The aftermath wasn't a fairy tale. The bullying didn't vanish overnight, but it lost its venom. Kaylee's crew backed off, their taunts replaced by awkward silences. Sarah's classmates began to see her differently. Some even approached her with respect, asking about her training. She didn't become popular, but she didn't need to. She'd found her voice, her strength, and it radiated from her in a way that no one could ignore. Sarah's challenges didn't end with the showcase. College remained tough, with late nights studying and financial struggles piling up. But the gym became her anchor, and Marcus her guide. She started mentoring younger fighters, sharing the lessons she'd learned. That strength isn't about being loud or cruel, but about standing up for yourself, even when your knees shake. She graduated with her degree, a quiet triumph, and took a job helping at-risk youth, channeling her pain into purpose. Looking back, Sarah realized the bullies hadn't just been Kaylee and her crew. They'd been the voices in her head, telling her she wasn't enough. The real victory wasn't wiping the smirks off their faces, it was wiping away her own doubts. She'd faced her fears, not with violence, but with courage, proving that true strength comes from within.